Welcome to Ear Biscuits, the podcast where two lifelong friends talk about life for a long time.
With Matthew McConaughey
Rhett.
sometimes. Oh no, you're not Matthew McConaughey?
Yeah, we don't have him here for that part.
And I'm Link. This week at the Round Table of Dim Lighting, we are talking to Matthew McConaughey.
Expanding the circle.
It is not an interview, we wanted it to be a conversation. We wanted it to be an extension of what Ear Biscuits has become, even though it is exceptional that we decided to do an interview. And we didn't do it just because, well, he's so famous, we gotta talk to him. It was that, and I mean, it was more than that.
It was personal for us, honestly. And we're not about to make Ear Biscuits anything other than what it is.
Right.
For the most part. I mean, we kind of broke the seal on, okay, we can bring in a guest sometimes. But the reason that we decided to do this is it goes back to, I guess it was beginning of 2020 is when we were given Matthew's book, Greenlights, which is something that happens pretty often, right? Celebrities write books and their teams send them out to other celebrities or people who have an audience, so they might read them and talk about them. So we end up getting quite a few books. And I saw this, his book come in and I was like, oh, this is interesting. This is more of like a memoir kind of thing. But I didn't immediately say, okay, I'm gonna start reading this thing. It was my good friends Lance and Lacey, of Beard and Lady who make all the grooming products for Mythical.
Oh, really?
Who they live a life of adventure and they live a life of embracing new ideas and new challenges and following those things. For instance,
with gusto.
Deciding to revitalize a historic haunted hotel in Arkansas and turn it into a hotel that you can visit. That's like the latest thing that they've done. They're always doing something like that.
I mean, we wouldn't have our grooming products if it wasn't for them hatching that idea.
Yeah. And so when they said, have you listened to Greenlights yet? And we like Jesse and I have a text thread with them that is very much that, have you watched this thing? I told you when we went home for Christmas, or whenever it was, for the summer, they were like, you gotta watch this and you gotta watch.
Yeah, they knew the stuff to watch.
Bo Burnham's Inside with them, I waited specifically to watch that with them. But anyway.
So a recommendation coming from them was like, all right, I'll do it.
Yeah, and so.
Did you read it or listen to it?
I listened to it because I've kind of moved almost exclusively into audiobooks to my, there's not a small amount of shame that comes with that, just for me personally, because I have this bias towards reading, but I can do anything else while I'm listening. So I just end up listening to all kinds of books, like multiple books a month is like my pace now, right? So.
And then you started talking to me about aspects of it, like just how his approach to expressing himself and being creative and going after his muse.
Well, and 90%
principles of it.
Percent of it to begin with was, man, you can't believe this thing that happened to Matthew McConaughey.
Right. Just great stories.
And you can't believe the way that Matthew McConaughey decides to tell you this story. Everybody knows Matthew McConaughey at this point, so you can imagine how he's gonna tell this story. But so listening to him do it in his very McConaughey way, it was a treat. And I was resisting telling you the story. You know how when you get into something, you wanna just tell people the stories? And you're like Mr. Spoiler Reverse to the nth degree. So I have to be like, well, there's a story about him going to Australia. And it's like, okay, well, I've been to Australia. You can't give away too much, but then you ended up getting into it.
He went as a foreign exchange student. You should say that, but
yeah.
I didn't listen to it for a number of weeks because I had other stuff, but then I had hit this dry spell and I was like, I need something. And I started listening to it 2 weeks ago. And then after I was almost done with it is when they were like, hey, he wants to come on your show. We're like, I think we gotta make this happen because it resonated with us so much. So yeah. As you'll see, we turned it into us getting what we needed out of it and our own purposes.
Yeah, it's not really an interview. As you can, I would advise most interviewers to not begin interviews by just telling stories about themselves like we did. It was kind of like what Chris Farley used to do on SNL when he was.
Remember that time when you, no, we didn't do that.
No, but I had a feeling, not knowing Matthew personally, but knowing of him and in listening to the book and I had a feeling that he would just get right into the. He's a let's have a campfire conversation kind of guy, and so he stepped right in here, and it would have been nice to have him actually at the table, but you know what?
He's still on video chat.
It
so
is
if you
what
watch
it
the
is.
Video version, it's there. All right, let's get to it. But first, we always want to encourage you to go to mythical.com to rep your boys. Do you have any clue what's over there? If you haven't been over there in a couple of weeks, it's gonna be new stuff. So go to mythical.com, browse it. You don't have to make any commitments.
And if
you
want,
find yourself purchasing something, then thank you.
And if you want something, things come and things go. There's actually the last chance section where things that will go away and never come back, we've put that all together in one nice little section for you.
Grab it.
So you won't complain about not being able to get something, the last chance section. Mythical.com.
It's great to meet you. We don't typically have guests on our podcast, but we both read and listened to Greenlights, and we love good stories. And you got some good stories, man.
Yeah.
And
well,
so
I mean,
loved
yeah,
it.
it's been many moons since we have had a conversation outside of just the two of us talking, because we figured out we've got quite a bit that we can just talk about to each other about.
Yeah.
But we both connected with your book, and I mean, you know, lots of people have connected with your book in a big way. But something about your stage of life, your story, kind of you're coming from small town South. There was a lot that we could relate to.
And there's a lot that's on our minds that I think selfishly, you know, when you start talking about legacy in Greenlights,
yeah.
I mean that's like we're having so many conversations about that, and also on this podcast. So I think selfishly we just want to pick your brain a little bit and kind of unpack some more of that. But first, when it comes to these stories, and just relating to that,
there's a couple of uncanny, uncanny parallels.
I love you talking about your mom basically telling you to plagiarize the poem that then
I won.
And then you won.
I won the 7th grade poetry contest. Yeah, because I mean, talk about because does the poem mean something to you? Yeah, I understand it. I mean, so you like it? Yeah, I mean, it brings up a feeling in you, Matthew. Yeah, I mean, it says if all that I would want to do would be to sit and talk to you, would you listen? I mean, that's like, yeah, you know, Mom. So you understand that? Yeah, then write that. Well, but it's Ann Ashbury. No, but as I said, you sign your name because you understand it.
Mm-hmm.
It means something to you, so it's yours. That was her reason.
If it means something to you, it's yours. Now, here's my version of it with my mom. We had this poster contest.
Countywide,
Harnett County anti-drug message. And I told my mom, now my mom worked at the public health department, and there was a pamphlet for everything. And so she would come, I mean, that's how I learned about sex, through a pamphlet. She brought home a pamphlet. She said, well, Link, here's an anti-drug one. And look, there's a picture right here, and it says there are lots of fun things to do instead of drugs. And then it's a guy holding all these other things like badminton thing and an art easel and stuff like that. And so she basically said, draw that. But here's the thing about my mom, I don't even think she knew what plagiarism was.
She didn't. There was no process where she explained it to make it okay.
She didn't have a pithy tenet that you can prescribe in your book. You know, for her it was just very innocent. This is a great idea. Why don't you just do exactly that? I did it. And I won.
I mean, by a long shot.
And you won.
I won, baby.
Okay.
I mean, he won the whole county, which
I believed it.
And listen, as his best friend at the time, what grade was that?
Fourth or fifth.
I had no idea.
I didn't tell anybody.
I thought you had dug.
I didn't ask
you
any
had dug
questions.
really deep.
Yeah.
Deeper than ever.
I still have it. I have a laminated poster of this in my office that somebody mailed me. Yeah.
And now the other thing that was a bit of an uncanny parallel. So my dad is a bit of a larger than life character. At any time throughout my life, even when I felt like I was afraid of nothing, I've always been afraid of him, right?
Right, yeah.
And in a good way, the good fear. And so by the time that we were, seniors in high school, in Buies Creek, North Carolina, where nobody that we knew had taken any sort of entertainment path. Our idea of being an entertainer was the guy who would come to the middle school dances and he was either a DJ or he could be a magician. That was the guy, right?
I've seen him do both at once.
And but we had this idea we want to go to film school. And I had that conversation with my dad that you had with your dad when you called him up and said, I'm thinking about going to film school.
And that was pretty built up for you. You kind of had to breathe into that moment, right?
Very much so. I mean, it was a moment where I wasn't sleeping well with the idea of going to law school. So that was keeping me up at night. It was weeks of sharing stories and stuff I'd written with my buddy, Rob Bindler, who was at NYU, who was the only film guy I knew and plus he was at Longview, Texas, and you didn't watch many films there either. So I'm sending him stuff in New York. He's writing back going, man, this is pretty good. This is good. And I knew he'd give me an honest opinion. And then I get the confidence. Then I find the book, Greatest Salesman in the World, the Augmentino book. And sometimes a piece of art or a book will find you or a person will share something with you. And you're like, they've been reading my mail. This is direct line. This was written for me right now. I have no question about it. When we have that clarity, whether it's true or not, it is true, right? So that book found me, gave me the courage to say, that's what I'm doing. And then I had to plan out when the best time to call Dad was, since he was paying tuition. So I said, like I said in the book, I picked that Tuesday night, 7:00. He's home from work. He's already eating dinner. He's having a beer with Mom on the couch. Best time to get him. Yeah. Not Monday. Tuesday, you know what I mean? And called him 7:36 and laid it on him. And he gave me that great response, okay, more than yes. He said, don't half-ass it, but go on about your story about, you coming out of North Carolina.
Well, the thing is that I did not plan as well as you did, because when I told my Dad, I'm thinking about going, Lincoln and I are thinking about going to film school.
Right. I mean, we had built it up. It had been years since we had done the blood oath and said, we're gonna create something together. And we had really colluded and we had each other and we worked up each other's courage.
Well, we had this plan. At one point it was, okay, we're gonna go to UNC Asheville. I'm gonna play basketball, but they have a film program and you're gonna be
and if they need someone to keep score, I've done that.
That didn't really come to fruition, but then it was just like, okay, are you gonna do what everybody else is doing and kind of just go into the state school or whatever? And I said, Dad, I wanna go to film school. He didn't say don't half-ass it. He said, well, I'm not paying for that. But the funny thing is so, and we put that in our book, the book of Mythicality we wrote a few years ago. By the way, Matt Inman, also our editor, incredible guy.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Matthew?
Yeah.
Matthew E?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Inman.
No, Inman.
Oh, yes, Inman.
Yeah, Inman, yeah.
Inman's great.
Yeah, man.
And what great hair. I cannot quit complimenting on his hair. Oh, my God.
Yeah, well,
he's got the greatest hair.
And we actually, we experienced the transition of his hair.
That's true.
Because in book one,
I like to think we inspired it.
It was close cropped, but book two, it was a whole new thing. Because I put that in the book and my dad said, that's not what I said. You remember that incorrectly. He was like,
but it made for a better story.
He said, well, I must have said something that was what you felt.
Yeah. And that was the result.
Hey, he and my mom may know each other.
I could see into it that he was not very supportive of that idea. So we went to engineering school and the rest is history, and it kind of worked itself out. We took a circuitous path.
You both went together.
Yeah.
Off the same school, engineering school, and you end back up here sitting next to each other, having your platform, a form of entertainment, film, storytelling here in front of the mic.
Yeah. So it ended up,
we found a way.
What would have happened?
We found a way. It was quite a circuitous path, but I think it turned out to be the most strategic way for us to get to where we wanted to get. We just didn't know that, so
I hear you.
He did us a favor.
Yeah, and you look, it's all a science looking back. Some mystery going forward, but you can connect all the dots. Whatever your dad said or didn't say, whatever you felt that ain't happening. So derail and I'm going my own way, and you end up right back and you go, damn, what if he would have said, yeah, I go to film school?
Probably wouldn't have worked.
Exactly, yeah. Well, one of the things that we really connected with, and something that's kind of been on our minds, relates to your very intentional decision that you made to say, I'm not going to work on another rom-com, right?
Yeah.
So talk a little, just for anybody who isn't familiar with that decision, kind of give some context for that decision, and then as it relates to your legacy is kind of where we want to take it.
Sure. I think it's around 2010-ish or so, maybe a little earlier. But I'm rolling in rom-coms. I've just had like 4 in a row that have all done well. Their rom-coms are middle budget studio pictures, meaning at that time is around $35 million budgets. It's above the line cost because you don't have a huge production value. You're not like making a Chris Nolan film where you're spending all this money on production, and it's about how the two, and most rom-coms, how the guy and the girl get along. It's what the chemistry of them is, and we know they're going to meet at the beginning, break up for some reason in the middle, and then he'll chase her at the end and catch her on a bridge or a moped or something, and the credits will roll. We'll be happy we got there. Then the fairy tale is good. We've seen it all. We know how it's going to end, but we just want to see it again because who are the leads usually in it? Do we want to follow them in this love story?
Yeah.
So I've done 4 of these. I'm the rom-com guy in Hollywood, man. I took the baton from Hugh Grant, and I'm running with it. That's my lane. I've got ownership of that lane.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the go-to guy. I like doing them. They're fun. I call them Saturday afternoon characters. They're like a flip-flop character. You don't take rom-com, you don't get in there and hang your hat on humanity. No, you're supposed to bounce from cloud to cloud and keep them light. And I believe I did a decent job of that. Anyway, with their success, they became so successful that the dramas I did want to do, where I did want to hang my hat on humanity and see if I could really flex my acting muscles, the studio system saying, no way, McConaughey, no thank you. And I say, wait, I'll take a 50% pay cut. No thank you, 100% pay cut. No, look, man, I'll do it for scale. No, we don't want you. You stay, you're the rom-com guy, stay over there. Oh, damn it. Well, that coincides with the fact that I've now met the woman who later became my wife, but I knew fell in love with her very quickly, Camilla.
Mm-hmm.
And we had we had a first child. She had the child, we made the child, right? So I have the first child coming to town. If you know from the book, my life's dream was to be a dad, man. So I'm like, all of a sudden my life is full and vital. I get madder, I get sadder, I laugh louder, I have more joy. I mean, I got to talk about meaning. I got meaning in my life, right?
Gotcha.
My life is now not bouncing cloud to cloud like a rom-com.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'm going, hey, well, I wish my work could challenge the vitality of my life, but it doesn't. Ah, damn it. So if I can't do what I want to do, I'm going to quit doing what I've been doing. So I said no to rom-coms, made the call to my money man, to my agent and stuff. And I said, I'm not going to do any more rom-coms. Can you be a keeper at the gate and hold them back from coming my way? Shed many a tear with Camilla because this drought could be, I may not work for, I don't know how long. I may not ever work again in Hollywood if I stick to this, which when I was going to do it, I knew I was going to stick to it. So 6 months go by. I'm offered nothing but rom-coms. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. I think a really fun story, just as I'm going on my preacher's box now and I sound so puritanical. I think it's a really nice story to tell you that at month 8, without working, there was a rom-com that came in with a $5 million offer, and I read it and I said no. They came back with an $8 million offer. I said no, thank you. They came back with a $12.5 million offer. I said no, thank you. They came back with a $14.5 million offer. I said, let me read that thing again.
How did it sound at that point?
It was better. It was funnier. The thing was more, it was the exact same words as the original offer, but it was a better script.
Oh, yeah, it was.
So I ended up saying no. I said no to that. And that, I believe in hindsight, was a bit of a turning point, meaning in Hollywood, that's when I think the studios that had me on a list to offer me movies, that's when they got the message, oh, McConaughey's not bluffing.
Yeah, he's serious about this.
He just turned it down for 14.5, and it's a damn good script, but he's not doing it. So I say no to that. Then nothing comes in for another year.
Yeah, and
so
you know what? Yeah. And we know where it goes, and I do want to get into that. But like even pausing at this point, I mean, I think we relate. I mean, our situation is different. We're in a different world of entertainment, but we have but we had these aspirations of being filmmakers, and then with the advent of YouTube, that was our opportunity to develop our audience. And I mean, we tried a lot of things before landing on our daily show, Good Mythical Morning, which then became this thing that was a huge success. So now 10 years running, 5 days a week, we've been putting out a couple of videos a day for our show, really connecting with our audience. Really, I mean, it's super rewarding. So much of our career has come from the opportunities that show that we created and continue to evolve afforded us.
Right.
And now we're sitting here 44, 43 years old, continuing to invest and build a team around this show.
Yeah.
Also doing this podcast, which is a passion project of ours, which is doing really great too. But there's this itch, especially I feel like at this point in our lives. I've got 3 kids. Rhett's got 2 kids. We've got happily married. We're living the dream that we shook with a blood oath in middle school, and no matter what Rhett's dad said or implied, we found a way to make it happen. And now we're sitting here and we've got a lot of gas in the tank.
Yeah, you've built currency.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like, I don't want to build it up as a turning point, but I do. Maybe it is. These are the things that we're wrestling with.
Well, we start asking the question
in terms of legacy.
Is GMM our rom-com, right? Because it's the thing that it works. There's great money in it. It's the thing we're known for. It's just and you talk a little bit about the fear. Sort of you can make fear motivated decisions, but you kind of had to push that.
You said it
down.
earlier. You said good fear. The way you feared your dad, you had a good fear. Yeah, man. Well, one, congratulations. You guys are mid-40s. I'm 51. I mean, what do we call this? Termed midlife crisis. Well, whatever.
Yeah.
At least we got the chutzpah to lean into some resistance.
Yeah.
Okay.
And at least we got some chutzpah to question a blind spot, to question, am I moving? Can I move? I'm successful. What I'm doing, is it significant? There's a difference. Hey, also, we don't want to boo-hoo our rom-coms.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Trust me, I remember I was, when I was trying to make that choice and I was still doing the rom-coms, I remember talking to my great mentor, Penny Allen. I was like, she was like, what is bugging you about? I go, I just feel like I'm just an entertainer. She goes, who the hell do you think you are sloughing off being an entertainer? What do you got against being just an entertainer? I was like, thank you. Put me in my place, so we have to give the credence, I think, to what we've done and not try to make a straight line crooked. At the same time, we want to lean into, well, wait a minute, man. Is there more here? Can it still be fun? Can we still have enjoy? Because it doesn't have to, I know what I have to watch is when things are going, I love to work hard. If my work's constructive and I feel it working. I don't mind, if I can break a sweat every day, that's fun to me. Mm-hmm. I don't like to work hard and then be frustrated and go, I don't know where it went. But I have to watch that. If it's not hard, I don't think it's worthy. And sometimes my easiest stuff, when you sit there and you tell a joke and you malaprop the damn thing and people laugh at the malaprop more than they did at the real joke, you're like, oh, geez, that was just an accident. That was the hit.
Yeah.
We go out, and we go, I write the book. I got things in the book that I'm like, this is going to be the home run, man. Some of the stuff that people never talk about that. It's this other stuff. And I'm like going, so I look for it sometimes to be harder than it should. I have to balance that. So how do you lean into the blind spots, but also not just, like I said, not trying to make a straight line crooked, not trying to go, well, it's not hard enough. This is worked out. We have to check in with ourselves. We come from small towns in the South. I dealt with that. My success early, like, geez, why me? I deserve this. You know what I mean? Am I breaking a sweat enough? You know what I mean? I mean, congratulations on the questions, guys.
Yeah, and I think
I'm in them too in my life.
Well, thanks for the congratulations. We appreciate that, and I mean, we are extremely grateful for what we've got, and the show is our friendship on display, and we can sit down and behind our desk and we can just kind of be ourselves, and people are drawn to it, and we've got great relationships with our fans because of it, and it allows us to launch other things that we want to do to a certain level. But then you think about the stories that we want to tell and the filmmakers that we want to become, and there's a bit of a chip on our shoulder. You know, you got gratitude on one, and then I think there's a chip on the other one that's like, okay, you guys came up from YouTube, and maybe there's a little bit of parallel to when you sent the message to the business that you weren't even gonna take the $14.5 million offer, and that really did it. It's like, we're trying to find a way to say, not to our fans because they know, but to the gatekeepers to say, hey, we're writing this thing, and we gotta get it into the right person's hands, or we still have things we wanna say and assert ourselves, and it's different than what we're known for and what we're successful for.
Right.
And so there's this, it's a bit frustrating. It's
What's
also
the frustrating part? Because you're not sure?
You're not sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Because you've already got, the fact you're sitting here, we have microphones in front of us, I'm on your show. You've got, you can be heard.
Right.
Even if you want to even if you're talking to those people out there that may be able to say, yes, let me see what you got, your script, I want to maybe finance that. You already got a huge leg up. So you're in.
Yeah.
I mean, two things came to mind when you were talking there and this comes when we're not sure, and being not sure is obviously very healthy and true for us to be maybe sometimes more. But when it's time to take action, you can't. I know y'all know you can't be waiting for permission.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna say a version of F it. This is what we're doing by hook or by crook, and we're not asking permission. And then it's going to be, probably that I love. There's a line that I heard somewhere along my line in life that I bring up in the book, that sometimes it's not about which decision you make. It's just about making damn one and jumping and doing it, and you find out.
Yeah, like shit or get off the pot kind of thing.
Go find out.
Yeah,
we it's our relationship. For me, I know a lot of times it's my relationship with time. You get a decision like this, you start thinking, man, I don't know am I wasting time? Do I have enough time?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you look up and you're 50 and you're going, well, and then you're 55, then you're 60. You're just sitting like, when we were 46, why did we just go, okay, let's see. And plus, and then what do we find out? Oh, time is actually on our side. But if we head into it without complacency, you know what I mean? It's another version of your stories. You maybe, I don't know, not that you're asking my advice on this, but you've got a show. Are you pitching some of these stories?
Yeah. So I think the way we're playing it right now is, really all along the way over the past 10 years since we've been in LA, the business has been built around what we've been doing online, and that's where we built our team and our studio, and that's all working really well. In the meantime, we've been we've been writing pilots, we've been writing features. We're doing that, and we are getting in the rooms, and it's a completely different process. Over here on the internet, it's like idea, put together the team, execute it, see what they think about it, see what the audience thinks about it. There's no gatekeeper. When we get into the traditional Hollywood thing, we kind of deal with the gatekeepers of it all. So I think we're kind of in a let's have our cake and eat it too.
Sure.
But when we both connected with that story when you were basically like, well, and the dynamics are different, of course, but you were like, I'm gonna just turn the faucet off. Right. And they're gonna be like, the only way you get this back on is if I'm doing what I want to do specifically. Right? And so that's kind of the thing that's sort of ruminating right now is like, what does that mean for us? Because it's not like, hey, we're gonna stop doing the show. That's the only way for us to move to the next thing. Right. It isn't as clean as that for us. But I think that the question, bringing it back to the idea of legacy and what you're known for.
Yeah.
I think that's a part of it for us is just like, okay, if I'm walking down the street, if somebody recognizes me, it's gonna be like 9 times out of 10, it's gonna be from Good Mythical Morning, and it's gonna be, the episode where you guys ate the the pig testicles or whatever, and it's just like, okay, that's awesome. I'm glad that meant something to you. Do I want the thing that 9 out of 10 people will remember me for is eating pig testicles on the internet? Or do I want to be like, hey, here's the thing that I want to, here's a story that I want to tell. So what part of that for you was like, okay, I mean,
Heard.
Well,
look, I hear you. I mean, I hear you. Look, our favorite bands still play their hits at the concert.
Yeah.
You got a pretty good hunch coming up in the encore.
Yep.
You know what I mean? With good reason.
Yeah.
I understand also. I'm still introduced to the first 3 words I ever said on film in 1992 in Dazed and Confused. All right, all right, all right.
Yeah, right.
Now, were there times in my life I'm like, really, again? Yeah. I look back and I go, geez, I'm glad you didn't get too upset about that because you'd have been dorking out, McConaughey. Are you kidding me? And I switched over to going, you're damn right, I'm the author of that. And let me unpack what that means to me. And it was the beginning of my career, and it's 3 affirmations. And you're right, puts a smile on my face too. Hey, I'll ride what do you mean am I tired of it? Mm-hmm. I wrote it.
Right.
It's my, you know what I mean?
I love that.
So grabbing a hold of the greatest hit and going, you damn right. And I understand why it became a greatest hit. Now, do you go, because does the success of what we're understood to do and our brand is, can it be so successful that it holds other avenues down for how it can be heard and seen? Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember this. Eric Church. I think he's North Carolina, isn't he? Is he?
I'm not
I think he
100%
might
sure.
be, yeah.
Anyway, he came and played one of our annual fundraiser, MJ&M event. Me, Mac Brown, who's coach at North Carolina, and Jack Ingram. He came and played, and he wouldn't play any of his hits.
He wouldn't?
On purpose. On purpose. I believe, I didn't talk to him long about it, but I believe it was about, no, he's in constant creation.
Yeah.
Fast forward, before you get hooked into that, I believe his thought was, oh, if I keep giving you that, you're anticipating that at the end of the night, and you're not going to be listening to mine. He was playing his new stuff that wasn't even heard. People didn't even know. And I was like,
that's bold.
Ballsy,
man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But there's another way to look at it. I mean, how do you don't want to boo-hoo the rom-com years. You don't want to boo-hoo the all right. You don't want to boo-hoo the success of the show. Don't shoot. That's what I mean by don't make a straight line crooked.
Right.
I like own that shit. Damn right. You know what I mean? But I hear you. Do you feel like you're being held down? I can't get this other thing out that I think is as good or better because it can only be seen through the lens of what I'd succeeded with before.
Yeah.
I hear you. You know what? Again, I'm going to go back to that. Don't ask permission.
Yeah.
I like
don't
that.
ask permission, go forward. And we have to watch this with legacy thoughts though, man. If we are solely based off of projecting how we want to be seen, we're not being subjective and selfish enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like we can be overly objective. The idea of legacy to project into our end, go to our deathbed, look back and ask ourselves, what's our eulogy going to be? What are we going to be remembered for? I think it's an extremely great thing to do for ourselves, but we can't live by it. Or if we live by it, we're going to miss out. We're going to look up if we live to be 100 and go, what'd you do the last 50? You were trying to just get here, living off of what you thought the rolling credits were going to be.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and I don't know if you know much about the Enneagram personality stuff, but I'm Enneagram 3, which is an achiever performer, and one of the things that you do is you over-identify with what you've projected out into the world. So whatever it is that you begin seeing people respond to.
Yeah.
So if that was, I'm gonna be good at basketball. Okay, that's all right, that's the thing. I'm gonna be the basketball guy. So, oh no, I'm going to be the guy, the guy who plays music. I'm going to be the guy who makes YouTube videos. Whatever the arena was, and so that's what my therapy has been about over the past few years, is learning to find, well, what does Rhett actually want? And I do think I've gotten to a place where it's less about how do you want to be perceived and more how do you want to live your life? I mean, that's one of the things I really admire about your philosophy of life is it's about a life well lived. It's about living life to the fullest, right?
Heard.
And I think that this gets into another thing that I think that as a good Southern boy you can also relate to, and that is the idea of pairing a desire for legacy with humility. Right. You know, you talk about how to your family you're just Matthew, right? They immediately ground you. Same exact thing happens. Even my mom will just approach people randomly in Walmart and say, "Do you know Rhett and Link?" Well, Rhett's my son. She will do that, but when I'm with her, I'm just Rhett. And there in the South, there's this ethos of the moment that you're too big for your britches, everybody's gonna let you know, right? So how have you kind of paired that, the idea of legacy or being an entertainer in general is like, you got something to say. Writing a book like Greenlights, you got something to say that you think is worth people's time. How do you balance that with the concept of humility?
Well, it's a great question because I don't know about y'all, but the idea in the church that I was raised in, humility, to be humble, to bow down, to make yourself at least number two. I could understand it and get great worth out of it when I was bending my knee to my God. But when it came to society, mortal men, women, I found that I didn't know how to be humble without losing confidence. And I found that when I would be humble, it was almost I didn't know how to be humble. You know, those people that are falsely modest and you're like, you condescending son of a bitch, cut that out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Cut that out. That's BS. You're BSing not only me, but yourself. You know what I mean? It's like, no, it's that Renee Sherman story I tell. Hey, she told me, hey, you know what? You're cute. You're really a cute young man when I was in 9th grade. And I was like, oh, she was like, hey, reached out and grabbed my hand. She was a very good friend of mine. Grabbed my hand. I said, what? She goes, someone gives you a compliment, and it's true. Just look them in the eye and say, thank you.
Yeah.
Whoa. Yes, ma'am. Heard. Now, I came across a definition, and I find this very true for me in my life all the time. So a lot of times it's about what Webster's dictionary are we working off of? The definition of humility. Because I've questioned, well, you want me to be humble? Everyone says be humble, but no one likes to be humiliated.
That's
you know
true.
what I mean? Right? But yet humiliation is an extension of being humble. But no, you ask him, you want to be humiliated? Everyone's like, no, but you go want to be humble? Yes, please.
Right.
So when I heard this definition of humility as being knowing you have more to learn, I was like, oh, that's the one I'm talking about. I can go forward and bow and have reverence and say please and say thank you and respect, but I don't lose confidence. My shoulders can still be back. My head can still be high. My heart can be high because I can admit that, yes, I've got more to learn, 100%. I purchase. I'm in forever. Different definition. And it made it click for me, which allows me to be humble, but still not lose my confidence.
Okay.
Because as we know, man, confidence is a huge thing. And I'm a believer in the necessity of our ego. We try to pound that down. If you don't have an ego, if you don't have judgment, you got no identity. You got to have it. We got to have a healthy ego. We are everything experience of our life, no matter how zen or selfless we are, it comes through us. It's the only feeling we can own.
Mm-hmm.
And it's ours and it's original. And we need to when that needs to be in capital letters or in bold print to ourselves, I think it's a very true thing to face that and look in the mirror and go, that's exactly what that is. I know You know, I have an opinion that I know why I succeeded. I know why I had my hand in getting what I wanted there. I know why I had a hand in failing to get what I wanted. Whether it's what you get, whether it's winning or losing.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds like you're talking about it's really a form of realism, right? And just being like, believing the truth about yourself, right? If that is, well, I am good at this thing.
Right.
That's true. I need to work on this. That's also true. So like more of a self-awareness where you can kind of find yourself, because I mean, we've all got the imposter syndrome constantly, and you show up in a new place, a new room, a new project, whatever, you get that imposter syndrome. But then at the same time, I usually have two equal thoughts in my brain. One is I shouldn't be here, and damn it, I should be here.
Right.
you
Right.
know,
Right.
and it's sometimes I can be a little bit, the false humility stuff can be problematic. But the moment that you start to think that, okay, I've got something to say that is better, or my story's better than your story, kind of thing, and it becomes this thing where I am belittling or taking advantage of others in order to get my thing across.
Yep.
That's when it falls apart.
But I think I was
dude.
trying to figure out, like, when you talked about making the selfish choice, I think this helps contextualize that, because you did refer to making the selfish choice, but I think there's caveats to it, right?
Sure. And look, selfish is another word that my pastor says I'm pushing a big rock up a steep hill trying to redefine this one. All
right,
but it's another word
it.
that I'm a well, as you just said, if it's belittling others, I don't think it's true selfishness in the infinite game. In the long, if we're really playing the long game, if we're really trying to create green lights in our life, live a full life, a quality life, there are sacrifices we make today to get a larger reward tomorrow. And someone would say, well, wait, that's sacrificing that what you want today, right now. That's very unselfish of you. I say, no, that's very selfish of me, because I'm going to go without this dime today to get my dollar next week.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have any time understanding delayed gratification and quality of life, and I'm considering, hey, you damn right I want to fill my bank account. If I consider also, I want to fill my soul, can I fill my soul's account along as well in the way I fill my bank account? I would say that's being more selfish. Because what's more selfish? To get to the end of your life and go, I just filled my bank account, but my soul's account was barren, screwed people over, burned bridges, did what I wanted all the way down the road, and now I'm here, a lonely SOB. I got no family. I got broke things out there. Gosh, I would say that's less selfish.
Yeah, right.
Because what got the bigger ROI?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not in belittling others. It's because I'm with you. If it starts to be at the expense of helping someone else out, if that which is the historical sort of definition of selfish, doing things for one's own without relation or empathy for anyone else. It could be a certain definition. That's not what I'm talking about.
Right.
I'm actually trying to say that the more selfless you are, the more selfish you are being.
Right.
Any religion says that. I would also say the more selfish you are being, the more selfless you may actually be being as well.
I mean, even the end goal of every major world religion is that ultimate personal connection with the Creator or eternity in paradise. I mean, that's kind of a selfish proposition.
It's the most selfish proposition. Even if you're saying, well, you're telling me I can live a certain way and let's get to heaven.
Right.
If you're living that's the ultimate selfish ambition. Whether you're, if for a believer who prescribes to that, I mean, I think we have to be in that version. I would say we have to be more selfish. But now, mind you, I'm redefining what that means. The long game, the long term of selfishness.
If you're prioritizing yourself and your own health, everyone around you is going to benefit. I think is ultimately
bingo. Trusting yourself. That's how you trust other people. Respecting yourself, that's how you're going to respect other people more. And again, these are just things that we make a contradiction, which I don't believe are. I believe are much more paradox.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it comes to light specifically I mean, when you were talking about that juncture, the non-rom-com anymore juncture, and it wasn't just you making a decision, you said there were a lot of tears and conversations with Camilla, and you know, you were starting a family together, and it was a palpable risk. So, and so it wasn't just something that you're like, I wanna do what I wanna do. So you were taking into account your family and they had to be on board.
Finances. Yeah, now, you know, my wife understood. She saw my pain and angst and unrest at wanting to do roles and have work that challenged the vitality of my life. So as soon as she heard that coming from in here on me, she was on board with me. So then we sat there and she's the one that pointed out, this is going to be hard. You don't know how long it's going to be. You're going to be dry, how long you're not going to work.
Yeah.
She also knows well enough to go at that time going, you not working. I know how much significance you get from work, how much significance you get, Matthew, from accomplishing things, how much you like to prepare, then finish, then, okay, I did that. I still do. And she was like, ooh, boy, every day, you're saying every day could be a Saturday now? Without the structure of work, the 2 jobs a year, 3 jobs a year that you take that go for 4 months or so.
So that could be appealing, but that could be scary.
Scary as all get out. Trust me, and I've said it before, you know, the days are long all of a sudden. I mean, I can only tend the damn garden and be a good dad to my son for so long. And all of a sudden about 3 o'clock, I'm getting antsy going, I got nothing I'm building here. No calls are coming in. Start to look up over there and go, hey, look at that bottle. Hey, it might be time. Well, no, it's a little bit early on that. Okay. You get restless, and to hold a bearing there. Luckily I had her, and I had a young son that anytime my mind got off and I was off in this monastic sort of sabbatical I was on, I would look to my newborn or look to my relationship or convince myself, trust. The longer you endure this, very much like the Australian year.
Yeah.
I clicked into it. I believe that if you endure this, there's a greater reward at the end, Matthew. Trust it. Time's on your side.
Get in the bathtub and read some Lord Byron.
That was great. I don't want to spoil that whole thing because I want people to experience it in the book.
Gosh.
But you got a lot out of it, the least of which is not a kick-ass punchline. I mean, with the reveal of it. But I mean, in contrast to Rhett, I think when you talk about like counting the cost and the risk and looking into the unknown when you're at a turning point in your career, I think that's the part that resonates with me, because we have so much, like, yesterday, and I think this, it may have been one of your poems in your book, or it may have just been something you said. So, it gets blurry in the audio book if you're in a poem or not, which I actually liked. I'm like, maybe the whole thing's a poem.
in a sense,
But the one when you were talking about making love to your wife earlier in the day and then having drinks, and it's like everything after that was like the dancing was better, the drinking was better, all the other things that you did with the rest of your day.
The spices and the food were better, everything. The conversation at 3 a.m. across the table was all better.
Yeah, it does set a nice stage to have a good session to begin it.
Yes.
And you know what? Yesterday, that happened to me. Me and Christy, we sorted our mail.
Oh, you had morning sex yesterday?
Made a little love.
I had morning sex yesterday because she was leaving to go to North Carolina.
And you know what? I was like, this, and then I was like, I'm taking my son, he's gotta have more driving under his belt before he can get his license. We're driving around Los Angeles. We're driving over the Hollywood Hills. I'm like, son, you are driving on the Sunset Strip right now. And then we come back around, we're going up, and it's like, let's go up to Griffith Observatory. And then I get back home and I'm hanging out with the family, and I went for a mountain bike ride. I came home, I said, I'm gonna get in the bathtub. I got in the bathtub and I looked out the window and I saw the sun reflecting off the mountains, and I'm like,
pretty nice. I
feel so secure in this nest. This is beautiful. This is a beautiful thing. And a lot of it had to do with starting off with a little love making.
It can open up the aperture.
But it can also trap someone like me into a sense of security.
Comfort zone.
I don't want to just put it out there as a wrong choice, because it could be a right choice for somebody. I don't know if it is for me, but I do know I have this tendency to overvalue security, and especially when I've got so much. Like that day was, and there was other things. If I walked you through all of it, I'd be like, damn, you had a perfect day. Or I had my perfect day, okay? So, but I'm at this point where we're having these conversations, and I'm fueled off of his being antsy from a creative standpoint. I benefit from that to pull me out of this space where I'm like, the risk is scary. The unknown is scary. I mean, are there certain things that you have to drop to go for what you want? And when it gets to those details and you're having those tearful conversations, I mean, nothing's as scary as I think when we had nothing and we were trying to build something.
Right.
So that being said, I'm still at this point where looking into that unknown and saying, okay, what am I willing to give up to go for what is still in my tank? That you had a passing comment of when you were positioning everything, there was a lot of practical steps. Like you shut down a production company, I think you said. You shut down a record label. I'm like, okay, McConaughey had a record label. Of course he did. But and then you shut it down. And it's like when you feel like you can do so many things, it's hard to know what's the right thing to go for. But if you look really deeply, I think that answer's in there for us. And it's just a question of, okay, what are we willing to shut down to open up what,
I hear you.
Do we have a buyers club, a Dallas buyers club in our future? I mean, how much could you see it? How much was it just foggy?
Trust me, it was hazy. But the decision, the truth of the decision to say I'm going to sacrifice not doing any more of the work that I'm in pole position to do, which were the rom-coms, that was clear. And that was clear to me in solitude. That was clear to me at 2 a.m. alone. That was clear to me at 3 a.m. with Camilla in the dark without any other noise. And so the truth of it was clear. Now the execution becomes the hard part.
Yeah.
And then to trust that no matter what, I'm taking this now out into the masses and the weather's going to get gnarly. Trust that to be true. Trust that to believe in that. As time goes by and you start to go, maybe I could amend that. Maybe, you know what I mean? Hey, let's go. But you how secure are you yesterday? The morning you had with your family, the morning you had with your wife. My question is, like any good drug, love, sex, booze, whatever they are, fame, attention. The problem's not really when we're on them. The problem's with why is it when it becomes hard to live our life and be secure when we don't have them. The problem's a week later when you hadn't hooked up, when you haven't had that morning. Why are you moving a little bit faster? Why are you not noticing that your son's driving on Sunset Strip? Because you're thinking, what I got to do here at 11 today? You're thinking ahead, you're out of the moment, right?
Yeah.
So that's a question that I think is also worth unpacking. But to get back to, I think what your last question was, you've built currency. You've earned currency. You're looking yourself in the face, you guys are going, we've earned currency here. Damn right. And we know we're responsible for it. First, own that. Then go, well, I don't want to be foolish with it. but I also don't want to be beholden to it.
Right.
So I'm so protective here that I'm going, hey, we built this. Let's just be so damn happy and so damn impressed with what we built. Hey, let's just fade off and hell, man, maybe we can retire and go play golf. I don't know. It's not what I want to do. At the same time, you don't want to take your currency to Vegas and just start blindly saying hit me or
Right.
or I fold without looking at your cards. So first this, I would go to this, and I talk about this in the book, what process of elimination. Before you go to identity, before you affirm about what it is you want to do, you start eliminating what you don't want to do. You were bringing that up. I started eliminating things on my proverbial Monday morning desk, my record company, my development things. I was like, you got these little campfires and none of them are just flaming big. They're not enough flame to really heat the kitchen, not enough flame for Valhalla. I need to get rid of a few of the campfires so I can add more time, gasoline, wood to these fires that are most important.
Yep.
So then you go, what are the most important ones? What are my non-negotiable things? What's going with me as I go forward, no matter what the hell I do? What am I going to tend to? What gardens am I tending to? I'm taking care of going forward in my life that are non-negotiable.
Yeah.
For me, I go husbandry and fatherhood, my family. That's a non-negotiable. Whether I go run for governor or I go make a rock album, that's non-negotiable.
Yeah.
So when I look at that and I try to point those out, it helps me go, okay, well, at least we don't have to wonder about that one.
Yeah.
As I'm going forward, let's just put that over here in the bag and say, if I'm going wherever I go, this is happening with me. So it's great to have certain things that are black and white in our life that are not like, well, I'm not sure. That's debatable. No, that's not debatable.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not debating that. It'll help. It seems to help. It doesn't answer the question, but it does at least lead you into going, I find having more in front of you and pathways to get what you want, that you go, that could work. It decreases the amount of options.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah. And I do think that, that is I'm not going to say it's easy, but it is the easy part is making those identifications, right? I mean, you start thinking about those fires and you think, oh, well, this fire is not really for me. This fire, somebody said that this would be a good idea, right? And we do 20 different things, and so you start looking around and you're like, this one seems strategic because this person said it was. Then the hard decision is to just let that fire or to douse it. That's the hard part.
How much do we want? I love it, man. More ideas. Come on, I think I can take it. My biggest asset, my biggest downfall, one of my biggest downfalls would be that I think I can make anything work. I can be moved and think anything's creative and anything's art. Yes. Yeah. My biggest downfall would be the same thing. My biggest upfall would be the same thing, because all of a sudden I'm going, wait a minute. You can get too many things. All of a sudden I got all these campfires here. Yeah. And I'm inviting more campfires onto my desk. I question, like, in my life now, going, you don't need new fires. You don't need new ideas. You need to sculpt what you got. Yeah. You need to start framing. You need to clean up that wood and get fewer fires, larger flames.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, because I can talk myself into an idea and by the afternoon be convinced that this is the best idea. And here's all the reasons that this is going to work.
But you went, we talk about our blood oath a lot. It's fun, but it's so meaningful. When you wrap things up and you talk about your top 10 list, and you read it and you didn't have to say that they had been checked off. Right. So it's what does that mean for your legacy now? Like, how do you look at it? Because that's kind of where the book ended, but then you're not done.
As I was saying, no, I'm not done. And some people have said, hey, you've accomplished all these 10 goals. Well, no, I haven't. There's only one I've accomplished, and that was winning the Oscar for Best Actor. The other 9, my relationship with God, my relationship as a father, being close to my parents now, because my mother's the only one alive. Those, the egotistical, utilitarian, those, I'm on the way to succeeding those. But those are, I have to work on those. Those are some of my non-negotiables. If I look at those, I go, you're going to be doing these. You're in process of trying to achieve these goals till you leave this earth. Is what I'm convinced of. So I don't have a new 10 goal sheet. If anything, I need to look back at the original goal sheet and go, how do we better tend these gardens? How do we evolve the tendance of these gardens, of these goals that you already have? And not be satisfied. I still have an entrepreneur spirit of, hey, but there's new things, world changes. But we also, as we know, I think it's Eddie Vedder says, you can change by staying the same and sticking to your modus operandi, your original goals, and going, no, I give that. I'm going to still take care of that. I'm going to maintain that. I'm going to help that grow and work on that daily. That changes. You get new ideas, new things come in our lives, and we go, oh, we get successful. We get new opportunities. I don't know. There's a great, what would you do with $14 billion? Someone said, take off 5 zeros and do what you do with $14,000 a million times, or whatever the math is, right?
Right. Yeah, I don't know where to move the decimal, but I do know what you're saying.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And there's some real truth to that. At the same time, we don't want to be hoarders.
Yeah,
we got success. We don't want to hoard our currency,
right?
And say, this is good. I made it, because we know it's not a summit we're on. We know we didn't get to the top of anything. And I think we also got to understand that there really is no top, no matter what. Even if you exceed your dreams that y'all have right now in 20 years, you're not going to be there in 20 years going, we did it.
You're never
going to be there in 20 years if you succeed at everything going, what's next?
Yeah,
how we doing here?
I hope so.
That's just part of the game.
Yeah, that's good to hear, especially from you. I feel like we've gone through the Greenlights workbook and it's not even out yet.
Yeah, well, yeah, because we want to be mindful of your time. We could talk to you forever.
We said this is going to be selfish, and I think mission accomplished.
Yeah.
We got some nice.
But tell us about the workbook, which comes out on December 7th, I think.
Yeah, it's the journal. So
journal.
Yeah, so I, as you know, the book is based off of 37 years of journaling.
Right.
And put out the book, and I noticed that a lot of people didn't really journal, didn't write things down, but then would talk to me about, when they did, it really helped them. I mean, so it's this is it. And what you I got little prompts in here. Okay. Mm-hmm. So there's certain things for instance, I'll kick you off, there you go. Tell a love story about your family. All right. I'm going to nudge the writer. Where I was the author of Greenlights, this is so you're the author. This is your whoever's got a journal. It's your story. I'll be there to guide you with a couple of, hey, think about this, think about that, throughout the book. So I'm kind of there with you. But when you write things down, you're extending the Socratic dialogue. We have Socratic dialogue all the time. So we think things. Yeah. You two can share things. You've got the bond, et cetera. I have my wife who I share things with and other great friends. But man, we can say, let's not forget that the first and foremost and last person that we should be sharing our thoughts with and making obligations with and contracts with is the M and the E, the YOU. That's what I mean, again, by being selfish. It's a selfish endeavor to be maybe more selfless, to be a better, more truer yourself, to be a better person for more people as well. And it starts, I believe, with making a contract with ourselves.
And you never look back.
Exploring ourselves.
You never look back.
And that's what journaling's for.
Because we've journaled, kind of coming up. You never look back and think, man, I wish I hadn't recorded that. I wish I
should have journaled less.
You always think, man, I wish there was that dry spell where I just did like one thing for a year. And I do think that having that structure and those ideas to get you started could be super helpful.
Yeah, very cool.
You know, the other thing I just say is that we typically journaling has gotten a bit of a wrong definition in that, oh, you go to it when you're frustrated, confused, and in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's good for that. Don't forget to go to it when you are rolling, when you are catching green lights, when you are on time and in line and on your frequency. Dissect your success. Dissect the stuff that works in your relationships, in how you started your day, in how you ended your night, in what worked through the day. Man, because you will go back. I've done it so many times when I've then gotten into a rut, off frequency, lost, frustrated, confused. I've gone back into my journal and gone, what were you doing back in June, man? That month, you were just rolling. Your relationships are great. Your career was great. You saw beauty in the world. You were just, I was on time. And I'll go back and I'll see habits that I had that now that I'm in a rut, I'm going, oh, you quit doing that. Let's go back. And it's helped me recalibrate and go, and shift me back into my lane again.
And if you need to install a recorder in your car, so you can you can do that too, right?
Yes, you can.
I love that idea.
Whatever it takes, man.
That guy's got a CB to himself.
Yes.
In his truck.
DJ. Let's DJ. Yeah.
Well, Matthew, man, thanks so much for spending the time. Like I said, we're big fans of you, big fans of the book, and I just think that it totally makes sense that this, the do-it-yourself version is the next thing with the journal. So I'm
write
excited.
your story.
And you know what? Now that we've heard from you and had all our questions answered, we're gonna go for it, and we're gonna blame you if it doesn't work out.
Awesome. Yes. Please do.
All right. Thanks, man.
All right, man. Thank you.
Call me.
All right.
All right. We just talked to Matthew McConaughey. Remember that? It just happened.
And it was kind of like, there's just sometimes, I mean, like I said, we haven't been talking to anybody besides the two of us, but I kind of just felt like we just kind of hung out with somebody who.
He's not gonna be your new best friend,
no,
that's what you're thinking.
No, well, I've got something on the side with him that you may not know about. But I think that the sort of the rhythm that comes from, and again, I don't want to make it seem like, we've got the same life experience as Matthew McConaughey. As you'll get from that book, man, the dude has lived this crazy, crazy life. I've never had a dream about some place and then traveled there.
Twice.
More than once in my life.
Yeah.
I haven't done it at all. So, but I do think that just, that was a very beneficial conversation for the two of us.
Yeah, I think there's no magic bullet. It's not like, okay, I'm gonna do this because he said this phrase and everything clicked into place. But I mean, the way that he presents his life of stories in the book is very inspirational. It's like, when in doubt, go for it. Have the experience, embrace the experience versus finding the excuses to not do it. Of course, that can't be a blanket statement across the board, but it's inspirational and a great reminder that, like, going for something and being up for the experience of it harbors so many rewards that you can't expect. And also chasing who you truly are and your passions is something that really resonates.
And I think a lot of people, a lot of our fans may think, but it feels like you guys have lived a life that is, leaning into risk and trying new things. And I know that there is a part of that and some significant points in our career that are kind of characterized by that mentality. But I think that the way that we perceive ourselves and our critical analysis of the way that we operate is that we err on the side of being too practical.
Yeah. And
we end up being too reasonable. And we make decisions that make too much sense. And I think that there is a part of us that wants to ask the question, well, what would it be like if, fill in the blank with an impractical question or decision?
Because the fact is, and it's hard for me to see it and say it, that we are in a position where we could go after things based on the success that we have and the relationship that we have with mythical beasts. So it's, yeah, there's still a lot to think about there, you know. But
we'll continue to. We won't keep talking about it forever, but
whose wreck is it?
Well, I think that whoever's it is, I mean, we know what we're wrecking.
I've already wrecked journaling. Now I can say, and if you want Matthew McConaughey to give you thought starters, well, there's a journal for that's coming out soon. And Greenlights journal. But yeah, listen to Greenlights. I mean,
yeah.
If you like good stories.
And I would say, now we both listened to it, and it's an incredible audiobook because, I mean, it's Matthew McConaughey, so you know that the way that he's gonna McConaughey it when he delivers it is gonna be worth your time. I will say, we also do have the physical copy of the book, and a lot of the things that he talks about, complete with pictures and bumper stickers, etc. A lot of that stuff is in there. So I think it's, you know,
cool.
choose your poison, but both of them are great. And there's a reason that it's reverberated so widely, you know, over the past year or so since it's been out.
We are leaving on trips independent of one another. Me and Christy are going on a trip to Big Sur. And
I'm going to Key West.
Oh man.
Never been there. Never been to that little
whatever
thing that Florida pooped out at the end of itself. It's like the dribble of pee from the penis that is Florida.
Oh gosh, you should have saved that for your intro. That's what we'll be talking about next week on Ear Biscuits. But you know, hashtag Ear Biscuits, let us know what you think about this conversation. You probably have some thoughts about how good is the ego. I don't know exactly if I agree with him on that, but maybe some of it's semantics, but get into whatever you want to. Hashtag Ear Biscuits.
We'll be here next time.
On the flip side of our trips. To watch more Ear Biscuits, click on the playlist on the right.
To watch the previous episode of Ear Biscuits, click on the playlist to the left.
And don't forget to click on the circular icon to subscribe.
If you prefer to listen to this podcast, it's available on all your favorite podcast platforms. Thanks for being your mythical best.